Well, Jesse, this Sunday I'm joined by Kimilili Member of Parliament, Didbas Barasa, just to give us a breath of what the president really means by, forming or being interested in forming a government of unity. Mheshimiwa, what is your understanding about the formation of broad-based government?
Formation of a broad-based government is actually a government that will reflect the face of Kenya. A government that will have people appointed to serve in the government, regardless of how they voted, where they come from, whether where they come from was an ODM stronghold or a Kenya Kwanza stronghold. That is the meaning of a government of national unity. All-inclusive government is not to mean that is going to appoint Raila Odinga or will appoint Kalonzo Musyoka. So the opposition who are ranting, who are making noise, we are not bothered about their noise. We are bothered about what we want to achieve as a government. And I think in the interest of time, you will come to understand what the head of state meant by saying, I am going to form an all-inclusive government.
Now, Gen Zs are not having it because they are saying, why will we go for an election only for the opposition to not want to come and partner with the government? What would you say about that?
Forget about the Gen Zs. I'm also a Gen Z because this country belongs to very many people. Whether you are 20 years or 50, or whether you are a Gen Z, whether you are a millennial, whether you are a Zinjanthropus, whether you are a freedom fighter, you have the right to have a share in our government. And I think the young people of our nation, I think, have mistaken priorities. What they should be focusing on is to reduce the fees for colleges and the universities, because most of them are where every Kenyan was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, depending on your age. And we are not going to do things because the young people have said. We are going to do things because the people of Kenya have said.
There you have it, Jesse. He says that there is no problem with having dialogue. There's no problem with mixing the generations to come together. Let's have a view of how to take the country forward. Back to you, Jesse.
Thank you for that conversation with the Kimilili Member of Parliament, Didbas Barasa. It was short but sweet, straight to the point, calling out Gen Z, saying there are other generations in this country as well, even as he supported the formation of the government of national unity. Allow us to hear from our viewers back at home. Our first caller is on the line, Francis Moranga, a familiar name from Kisii County. Moranga, good afternoon. In a minute or two, give us your take.
Jesse, for giving me this golden opportunity today. What I want to say is that Gen Zs, that is Generation Z, those are the Kenyans, young Kenyans, brilliant Kenyans, and the people of high integrity. They want and they have given their demands to the government of Kenya to respond to, not to pass through Raila Odinga or any other opposition leaders. Right now, Jesse, as you can see, Parliament is just a voting machine. They are working like robots. They are not taking in the interest of Kenyans at the heart. In fact, we are really read down. In Kenya, we don't want a national unity. We want, if Ruto has taken leadership of the country, let him stay ahead. But right now, what is there is not obeying the law. And that has made Kenya to be where we are. Right now, kwa kusema Kiswahili ni kwamba Ruto ametoka kwa barabara ya siasa, amechukua gari ya Wakenya wote, anaikimbisha ndani ya msitu. Saa hii, hatuna gari yetu ya Kenya. Haina taa, haina pambalis, haina chochote. It is just working. Now it's calling support from Raila after failing to take us where we wanted. I tell Kenneth Ondiek, in fact, you are trying to save UDA, but you are far from the point. Because you speak like somebody quarreling, extraordinary time that you are talking of, Kenyans need answers, whether short-term or long-term solutions. The one which is really concerning Kenyans is like that's where money is going to pay internal and external debts which we don't know. Chili Wanchigi, a very good Kenyan, came to our rescue Kenyans, and they said how to handle that. Instead, what did you see the president doing? Is he diverting, going to Kenya Royal Society, going to pick people who does not know the genesis and the proper way of getting to know the debts that the Kenyans have. In fact, we are lost. Baba is also misleading us, and they are down to Kenyans. Baba Raila Odinga ametuangusha kama wana ODM.
Okay, Francis Moranga, we appreciate your feedback, definitely pointing to the youth issues perhaps being hijacked. Mentioned that Parliament is an appendage of the executive in terms of the decisions and the voting we've seen so far, and finally finishing with his reservations around ODM sort of giving members to join government. Let's shift focus to Habib Omar right now, who is calling from Riverside, right here in Nairobi County. Omar, good afternoon. In a minute or two, give us your take kindly.
Good afternoon, Jesse. Jesse, Generation Z did their part. They did very well, and the president, of course, reversed the financial bill. At the same time, he did get away with the CSS. That was what Jay-Z were asking. But what our young men and women lacked is that kind of leadership. They are all supposed to have leadership because they cannot talk all of them in millions. Because what they would have done first is to get a memorandum, to write exactly what they really wanted, so that they may get involved with this situation. In that way, it would have been better. So the opposition leader and the other people found a way to come in so that to fill the vacuum that Jay-Z didn't. But now what I should say is that they should not forget that these people are the people who started the war or the fights so that the president could hear their cry. Now, but not having a leadership, there is nowhere in the world, even in schools. In schools, we have monitors. In schools, we have prefects. In schools, we have presidents. We must have leadership in any organization. And that is where Jay-Z's failed to have to get that opportunity. But all is not lost because they did their part. They did it very well. In fact, the only problem is that they ended up getting insulted. But
all right, Habib, thank you. We've definitely gotten your views in terms of Gen Z lacking leadership, and that's definitely one of the issues that was an oversight perhaps from our youthful generation. So gentlemen, a minute or so each or less, because we definitely have to conclude. Your final thoughts, with all things said and done. Our callers seem to be pointing to the youth issues being hijacked, Parliament being an appendage of the executive, and one caller sort of hinted that, ODM is a turncoat since they have been betrayed in one way or the other. Equally, another caller pointing towards Gen Z lacking leadership. So in less than a minute.
Rogers, thank you very much. I think it is evident that we have lost opposition, and therefore one thing that I would like us to focus on is to see how our parliamentarians will go into salvage Kenyans' demand so that they're able to positively engage our young generation and win their, I always say, redeeming themselves from where the perception of our young people or Kenyans had earlier on for them and where we want them to be. So we will see how they're going to carry out this vetting of cabinet secretaries. And I don't prescribe to the theory of saying that individual is branded. Let people prove themselves in front of the panelists. And once we are convinced that there are no issues in individuals' track record, then it should be confidently appointed and given the task to serve Kenyans.
Noted.
Thank you.
Kennedy, briefly.
Yeah, thank you. I think, number one, we have to agree that there is no Azimio coalition without Raila Odinga. And it is very clear from all indications that no one will lead that formation unless Raila himself does. So whoever is hanging on Raila's coat, so that we are Azimio and whatever, they should just style up and focus on other things. Like Martha Karua, let them be busy doing other things they can do better instead of bickering and addressing press for nothing, especially when the owner of a machine has taken his machine and gone back with it to where he wants. At the same time, Azimio also, the Gen Zs had a good idea. And if this idea will be put into paper, the only problem is that even Gen Zs suspect themselves to the extent that they don't trust any other whom they can even bring forward to fight on their behalf. And that's why I'm saying in Kenya, everybody has a price. And that's why the Gen Zs don't want to bring anyone, because they all know that they will be bought. And that's why they don't want to talk. If they can't be bought, let them bring one person in front so that the president can talk to him alongside Raila Odinga and other leaders. Because this nation must be run. We have a country to run and we have economy to move on with. We cannot sit as it is burnt down into ashes by people who don't want to bring forth any proposals to help the country going forward.
Definitely hinting at a national convention going forward. It would be interesting to see who represents Gen Z. Okango, briefly.
This is our country, Jesse.
Yes.
When these countries go down, we all go down. It requires leadership to steer this country to the level that will be admired by everyone. We want to ask the people of Kenya, contribute in whatever level you are. Whether you are a Gen Z, politician, technocrat, academia, please contribute your views and thoughts in building this country. The political class have a duty to do. The executive have a duty to do. The common man have a duty to do. For us in Azimio, we have chosen to do the right thing. And the right thing is, we want peace in this country. The other political parties also, I'm sure they want the same. We are asking the president, please unite this country. We are asking the president, please address the issue of concern to every Kenyan, not only Gen Z. And that way, we shall have a prosperous nation.
Okay, Wakili, your final
Jesse, I urge the president to stand with the people of Kenya, irrespective of the pressure to award certain quotas of political elites. I also urge the Parliament of Kenya to stand with the people of Kenya when they are going to do this vetting. I urge them to reject some names if they find, and I know there are some people who are not competent or qualified to sit in the cabinet. I urge them also to return these names and urge the president to appoint more youthful people. And the president should get names from Gen Z who they feel can go there, one or two, and represent the people of Kenya. I urge the leadership to stand with the people of Kenya.
Thank you so much. Ishmael Nyaribo, advocate; Fred Okango, Secretary Political Affairs, Azimio; Kennedy Ondiek, UDA Coordinator, Nyanza Region; and Dr. Isaac Hassan, Governance and Leadership Expert. Asanteni sana for your input. It was heated, but it's all friendly fire. That's how we wrap up today's edition of Inside Politics. Thank you so much for watching, and your feedback is equally appreciated. Asanteni sana. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.